The story of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and Prophet Ismail alayhi salam. This story is best heard with closed eyes. Take a breath and listen with your heart. Chapter 1. The Idol Breaker, Trial by Fire. In the bustling city of ancient Babylon, under vast blue skies and amidst marketplaces humming with life, young Ibrahim grew up. The smell of incense clung to streets lined with statues carved from stone and wood. Worshippers pressed dates and milk against cold lips of idols and whispered hopes into unhearing ears. Even as a boy, Ibrahim felt an unease stirring inside him. How can lifeless figures that neither hear nor see command such devotion? One evening, as the stars appeared like lanterns in the darkening sky, Ibrahim gently approached his father, Azar, a respected idol maker, and asked, "O dear father, why do you worship what can neither hear nor see, nor benefit you at all?" Azar flared, "How dare you reject my idols, O Ibrahim? If you do not desist, I will certainly stone you to death. So be gone from me for a long time." Despite his father's fury, Ibrahim replied softly, "Peace be upon you. I will pray to my Lord for your forgiveness. He has truly been most gracious to me." Unable to win his father's heart, Ibrahim turned to the wider town. He yearned to awaken them with reason. One clear night he pointed to a blazing star, calling, "This is my Lord." When the star faded, he said, "I do not love those that set." He repeated the lesson with the moon and then the sun, each time exposing the limits of celestial worship. Soon after, the city announced its annual spring festival beyond the walls. Craftsmen, priests, and nobles all pressed Ibrahim to join the revelry. He declined with an enigmatic reply, "I am really sick." Tafsir explains that Ibrahim employed Tawhid, a figurative truth. Outwardly he excused himself. Inwardly his heart felt sick at their shirk. Content that the young man would stay behind, the townsfolk departed in procession, drums fading into the distance. When the last echo of footsteps faded, Ibrahim resolved to act. He slipped quietly into the grand temple and, one idol after another, he struck, stone meeting stone, until only the largest remained. Then he hung the axe on its shoulder, leaving behind a silent witness. When the celebrants returned and found their idols smashed, shock rippled through the temple. "Who dared do this to our gods? It must be an evildoer." "We heard a young man called Ibrahim, speaking ill of them," a voice admitted. Dragged before an angry crowd, Ibrahim stood calm. He pointed at the intact giant. "No, this one, the biggest of them, did it. So ask them if they can talk." For a heartbeat, doubt flickered in their eyes, but pride smothered it. Voices united in fury, and the local king, identified in later tafsir as Nimrod, decreed a fiery execution. A pit was dug, and as some commentaries describe, the flames leapt so high that birds passing overhead were singed. Ibrahim was bound. As he was catapulted toward the blaze, he whispered, "Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakul. Allah is sufficient for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs." Bukhari. At that very moment Allah spoke, issuing a command that would turn terror into tranquility. "O fire, be cool and safe for Ibrahim." Flames became petals of cool light. Ibrahim sat unharmed in their core and soon walked out, face serene, heart grateful. They had sought to harm him, but we made them the worst losers. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Some stubbornly turned away. Others began to question their inherited gods. Key takeaway. Standing for truth may isolate you, but unwavering faith and reasoned courage invite Allah's help from places no one imagines. Ibrahim's story urges us to challenge falsehood respectfully, trust Allah, and know that a single believer can shift a nation's conscience. Next episode. Babylon's fires could not burn him, but its people's hatred still smolders. Exiled and alone with his faith, Ibrahim will step onto the open road, unaware that it will carry him to famine-struck Canaan, the palace of a tyrant king, and a test that will bring a new face, Hajar, into his life. Pack lightly and listen on. The journey of Hijrah and hidden mercy begins now. Chapter 2. Journey to Faith. Hijrah. Smoke and the acrid scent of charred cedar still clung to Babylon's streets in the days after the miracle. Whispers followed Ibrahim wherever he walked. Angry glances warned that another attempt on his life could flare at any moment. That night he sat outside his house, weighing what lay ahead. Beside him was Sarah, his devoted wife, a woman of noble lineage whose beauty was matched only by her faith, and Lut, the nephew who had embraced his uncle's message. Ibrahim's heart ached at the thought of abandoning his birthplace, yet the Quranic principle rang clear. When truth is stifled, migration becomes worship. At the first pale light of dawn, Ibrahim tightened the girth on the family's camel, loaded only necessities, and invited Sarah and Lut to mount. He cast one final look at the skyline of ziggurats and idol shops, then turned the reins toward the open steppe. Camel bells clinked as the trio traced the Euphrates corridor, heading northwest to the fertile highlands of Canaan. Along the way, Ibrahim voiced the pledge that would echo through every later migration. Indeed, I will emigrate to my Lord. He is the Almighty, the All-Wise. Days blended into weeks, dusty tracks, starlit camps, the desert wind hissing over canvas. Yet every sunrise felt like a quiet reassurance. Allah was guiding their steps. They reached Canaan, a land of orchards and running streams, and for a time peace returned to their lives. Then drought struck. The Quran is silent on the famine, but early tafsir explains that scarcity drove Ibrahim southwest to Egypt in search of grain. Along the trade road, the little caravan entered the realm of a tyrant king, notorious for seizing any woman who pleased him. Just outside the city walls, a passing merchant whispered a warning. The local tyrant was notorious for seizing every beautiful woman who entered his realm. Hearing this, Ibrahim turned to his wife, concern clouding his face. If they ask, say you are my ukhta, my sister in faith. There are no other believers here. This is Tawhid that Allah allows for our safety. Word of Sarah's beauty reached the court, and soldiers dragged the couple before the ruler. Questioned, Ibrahim repeated quietly, "She is my sister." The king ordered Sarah brought to his chamber. Ibrahim slipped aside and raised his hands. "O Lord, if you know I have believed in you and your messenger, protect Sarah from this oppressor." Bukhar. Inside, every time the king reached for her, his hand stiffened, locked in sudden paralysis. Panicked, he pleaded, "Pray for me, and I will not harm you." Sarah supplicated, and his hand was released. Yet he tried again and again. Each attempt met with a tighter paralysis and another desperate plea. Finally, trembling, he cried to his guards, "You have brought me a devil, not a woman." In fear and awe he freed her and sent her out with a single honorable gift, a dignified Coptic handmaiden named Hajar. Reunited, Ibrahim whispered, "Alhamdulillah. Allah turns the plot of every tyrant." Sarah, still shaken, glanced at Hajar and somehow felt the quiet weight of destiny. Back in Canaan the grain returned and the herds grew fat, but the evenings were still hushed by one absence, the cry of a child. Ibrahim often paced outside the tent at dusk, tracing the Milky Way, the same celestial path that once proved idols powerless in Babylon. Under that familiar sky he lifted his hands. "My Lord, grant me righteous offspring." The prayer drifted into the fire-lit shelter where Sarah sat weaving. She felt every syllable, for the silence in their home was her silence too. After a long, steady breath, she rose, the lamplight catching the resolve in her eyes. Kneeling beside Ibrahim, she said, "Hajar is loyal and pious. Marry her. Perhaps Allah will bless us through her." The words cost her dearly, yet her voice did not tremble. Faith held it firm. Ibrahim's eyes filled with tears, grateful for a wife whose devotion to Allah outshone even her own desires. Key takeaway. Hijrah teaches that when a believer walks away from oppression for Allah's sake, divine openings appear in the most unlikely places, even through the hands of a tyrant. Patience, prayer, and lawful creativity, Turiah, turn danger into deliverance. Next episode. Sarah's selfless offer will set events in motion that echo through millennia. A child named Ismail is on the horizon, but his arrival will reshape the family in ways none of them can yet imagine. Stay with the caravan for Chapter 3. Chapter 3. The Gift of Patience. Birth of Ismail. Years passed gently in Canaan, each filled with devotion, contemplation, and tireless prayer. Ibrahim and Sarah had settled into a life rich in spiritual tranquility, yet one longing persisted deeply within their hearts, the yearning for a child. In the quiet stillness of the night, Ibrahim would frequently raise his hands, whispering earnestly to his Lord, "My Lord, bless me with righteous offspring." Surah As-Safat 37:100. Sarah observed his unwavering patience and devotion with warmth and admiration. Yet as time wore on, she felt a gentle ache within herself, aware of her inability to fulfill Ibrahim's deepest desire. One evening she quietly approached him, her heart heavy yet resolute. "My dear Ibrahim," Sarah began softly, "Allah knows best, and perhaps His plan includes something we have not yet considered." Ibrahim listened attentively, his eyes gentle, encouraging her to speak freely. "Perhaps you should marry Hajar," she suggested tenderly. "It may be that Allah will grant us the joy of a child through her." Moved deeply by her selflessness, Ibrahim held Sarah's hands warmly, his voice tender. "Your heart is as vast as your faith, Sarah. If this is Allah's will, may He bless this decision." Soon after, with Sarah's full blessing, Ibrahim married Hajar. Not long passed before joyous news filled their humble household. Hajar was expecting a child. Sarah's heart brimmed with both happiness and quiet reflection. Despite any personal longing she felt, her faith and love for Ibrahim and Allah's plan sustained her. When Hajar's time approached, the air was thick with anticipation. Ibrahim paced quietly outside their dwelling, his heart filled with prayer and hope. Soon a gentle cry pierced the stillness, and Ibrahim entered, seeing Hajar holding a tiny bundle close. She smiled warmly, eyes glistening with tears of gratitude. "Allah has heard us," she whispered joyfully, handing Ibrahim the infant. Holding his newborn son for the first time, Ibrahim felt overwhelming joy and gratitude. "His name shall be Ismail," Ibrahim declared softly, his voice trembling with emotion. "For indeed, Allah has listened to our prayers." The arrival of Ismail filled the home with renewed joy and purpose. Each day, the child's laughter became a sweet echo of divine blessing. Ibrahim often gazed lovingly at his son, his heart continuously marveling at Allah's mercy. Yet with this happiness, subtle challenges surfaced within their family dynamics. Sarah, though deeply faithful and compassionate, sometimes felt quietly troubled, contemplating her own situation. Sensing this, Ibrahim spoke gently to her one evening beneath their favorite starry expanse. "Sarah, your patience and generosity are blessings beyond measure," he reassured softly, sensing her quiet struggle. "Allah sees your heart clearly, as do I. Your reward with Him is surely immense." Comforted by Ibrahim's words, Sarah's spirit calmed. She continued to care tenderly for the family, trusting firmly in Allah's wisdom. Meanwhile, Hajar adjusted to motherhood with humility and gratitude, conscious of the delicate dynamics within the household. She approached Sarah respectfully, always acknowledging her generosity and kindness. One evening, watching little Ismail sleep peacefully, Ibrahim's heart filled with profound contemplation. He whispered prayers, seeking guidance and strength for the family, knowing that each member's patience and trust were foundational to their spiritual journey. As he gazed toward the horizon, Ibrahim wondered about the future, aware that trials often accompanied blessings. Yet he remained steadfast, confident in Allah's wisdom and mercy, believing deeply that whatever awaited them would ultimately lead to greater good. When the heart waits in trust, Allah sends more than an answer. He sends transformation. The birth of Ismail is a living sign that patience, sacrifice, and faith do not go unnoticed, and that even great longing can open the door to even greater purpose. Just as Ibrahim settles into fatherhood, a profound divine command will challenge his heart again. He must undertake a difficult journey to a barren land, guided solely by trust in Allah's wisdom. A journey destined to forever shape the spiritual heart of humanity. Key takeaway. Through Ibrahim's devotion, Sarah's sacrifice, and Hajar's blessing, Ismail's birth became a living sign. Allah hears the patient heart, and even deep yearning can open the door to a greater divine purpose. Next episode. A divine command sends Ibrahim to a barren desert. He must leave Hajar and baby Ismail utterly alone. Why? Witness the ultimate test of trust. Chapter 4. Trust in the Desert. The Valley of Baca. Life in Canaan moved with a gentle rhythm. Ibrahim rejoiced in every smile of his infant son and every word of gratitude from Hajar. Yet one day Allah sent Ibrahim a direct command that would turn their quiet routine into another timeless lesson of faith. Take Hajar and little Ismail south, into a barren, uninhabited valley, and leave them there. No additional details were given, no earthly reason offered. But for a man who had walked out of fire unharmed, Allah's word was enough. Ibrahim's heart tightened, yet his resolve was firm. He saddled the camel, packed a small skin of water and a pouch of dates, and gently invited Hajar to travel. "Is everything all right?" she asked, adjusting the sleeping child on her shoulder. "Everything Allah decrees is good," Ibrahim answered quietly. Across rocky plains and sun-bleached valleys they traveled, father, mother, and child, bound southward. Days blurred into dust and distance. At last, Ibrahim reached the place Allah had shown him in the unseen, a barren valley nestled between two rocky hills, desolate and empty. Not a soul in sight, not a blade of grass, not a single drop of water. This was Bakka, what we now know as Mecca. Ibrahim helped Hajar dismount and gently lowered baby Ismail from her arms. Then, without a word, he turned and began to walk away. Hajar called after him, confusion rising in her chest. "O Ibrahim, where are you going? Are you leaving us in this valley where there is no one, nothing, no water, no food?" He said nothing. She ran after him. "O Ibrahim, why are you doing this? Did Allah command you to do this?" Finally he turned. Yes. A breath caught in her throat. The sun beat down on her shawl. Yet she nodded. "Then he will not neglect us." Ibrahim said no more. But when he climbed to a small rise called the Thaniya, he stopped. Looking back at the mother of his child, now a silhouette in the endless dust, his heart trembled. And there, with tears in his eyes, he raised his hands in dua. "Our Lord, I have settled some of my offspring in a barren valley, near your sacred house, our Lord, so that they may establish prayer. So make the hearts of believing people incline towards them, and provide them with fruits, so perhaps they will be thankful." Surah Ibrahim 14:37. Then he turned and walked away, trusting his family not to the safety of land, but to the mercy of the Lord of the worlds. The sun climbed, shadows shrank, and the skin of the water pouch ran dry. The dates were gone. Ismail's cries grew sharper, then fainter. Hajar looked at the child, parched lips, limp hands, and panic surged in her chest. But she did not despair. She stood, tied her shawl, and searched for help. She climbed the nearest hill, Mount Safa. She scanned the horizon. Nothing. She rushed down. She climbed the opposite rise, Mount Marwa. Again, nothing. Her heartbeat matched her footfall as she ran between the two hills, back and forth, 7 times. Her pace was frantic in the valley floor and desperate on the climbs. Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam later said, "She ran like a person in distress, searching for help." She never gave up. And then, at the 7th circuit, she heard a sound near the child. She rushed to him and found an angel, Jibril, striking the ground with his heel or wing in some narrations, and from that blessed strike, water gushed forth. The dry dust darkened as the earth burst open beneath Ismail. Water surged forth from the sand, clear and cold. Hajar gasped, fell to her knees, and scooped it with trembling hands, afraid the blessing might slip away as suddenly as it came. Frantically, she began to gather stones, shaping a basin around the spring to keep the water from flowing too far. As she worked, she called out again and again, "Zamzam, Zamzam! Stop, stop!" trying to preserve the miracle. She drank deeply, her throat soothed at last. Then she pressed a few drops gently to her son's lips. His eyes fluttered open. Life bloomed again in his tiny face. From deathly stillness Allah had brought forth abundance. From desperation came a mercy that would flow for centuries. Birds circled in the sky, dipping and soaring near the ground, an unusual sight in a land so barren. A passing caravan from the tribe of Ibrahim noticed and grew curious. "Birds don't gather like that without water," one of them murmured. They followed the flight and stumbled upon the spring, gushing, shimmering, and alive. There they saw Hajar and her son beside it, the dust still wet beneath her feet. With respect they approached. She stood firm, protective yet welcoming. "May we settle nearby?" they asked. Hajar, dignified and calm, answered, "Yes, but the water belongs to us." Stones became tents, and tents a village. Ibrahim's prayer was already unfolding, hearts inclined toward his family, provisions reaching a once empty land. Far north, revelation informed Ibrahim that Hajar and Ismail were safe, their valley alive. His heart bowed in gratitude. The test of abandonment had proved again that true reliance on Allah, tawakkul, pairs patient trust with vigorous effort. And thus, from one woman's faith and one baby's cry, a city was born. A city that would one day become the heart of Tawhid on earth. Key takeaway: Hajar's story is not just about patience. It's about tawakkul, trust that moves the feet, not just the heart. Her dua was her footsteps. Her sa was her submission. Her struggle became a ritual of Hajj itself, immortalized by Allah. Next episode. The desert has given life, but the test of fatherhood has not yet ended. Ibrahim will return and be asked for something no parent imagines. A knife will be raised, a heart will be tested, and a mercy will descend unlike any other in history.